I could use some help. This is bad. I need healing. Forget about me. Turn this around with an aura.
Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here, coming at you with another edition of the Cons Cast. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the previous video that I did on God Eater 3. And the reason I want to talk about that particular video is because I would like to address a lot of the feedback that I've received in that comment section. And some of you might look at that comment section and be like, Jesus Christ, Rurikhan, you sure you want to poke that hornet's nest again? Just look at that like to dislike ratio, dude. And the thing is, you need to understand that I'm actually very thankful that there's a community out there that wants to discuss these issues in greater detail. I mean, at least to me, it's more useful to have someone explain to me why they didn't like one of my videos or why they disagree with my opinions on a certain topic than someone that just watches the video and doesn't rate it either way and doesn't even say anything. Feedback is, as I've always said, extremely important for me, and it will always be extremely important moving forward. That's just the way that I choose to look at this. And in a lot of ways, this is one of the reasons why I prefer to live stream on Twitch, because I'm able to interact with people live, and therefore there's a lot less misconceptions and misrepresentations of what is being said on the live stream. Anyway, basically I boiled down, because there's like over, 300 comments or something like that on the video at this point, so I'm not going to be able to address every single one of them because it would be like a 2-hour long video that nobody would really watch. So I boiled down the main talking points of a lot of the comments, and I will be addressing them one by one in this video. So let's begin. The very first one would be, I disagree with you, and then you would explain the reason why you disagree with me. This is a good thing. This is a very good thing. Not every video that I do is going to be, widely appealing. We're going to have divergence of opinions. That's just the way these things are. And, you can disagree, and that's fine. And I will probably continue disagreeing unless I'm convinced otherwise by the time I play the final retail version of the game, okay? But disagreeing is a good thing, at least in my opinion. Agreeing is usually better, but disagreeing is still a pretty healthy thing, so long as you can disagree on something without necessarily feeling offended that someone has a different opinion from you. That's a good thing. Now, another thing that was being said is that the demo is outdated. The retail version is better optimized and plays a lot better. Well, the only thing that I have to go from at this point in time is that demo, and my opinion is completely based on that demo and the content that is available in the demo and the performance that is in the demo and the gameplay that is in the demo. I haven't gotten to play the retail version because I did not purchase the Japanese version that came out, I think, on the 13th of December or something like that. So, again, I don't know how better the retail version plays. I can tell you that the demo that I've played, there were a lot of things, like I've explained in that video, that didn't feel particularly good. Another talking point was the controls are fine. You're a noob, you are bad at the game. And it's like, you need to understand something. I can adapt to pretty much any control scheme that you put in front of me. Like, that's fine. Because I've been playing video games for a long time. I've even done the claw back in Monster Hunter. I don't want to bring Monster Hunter again. People will be upset about that. But either way, what I'm saying is that I can adapt to pretty much any control scheme you put in front of me. But you need to look at a series as in, at least I tend to do this. I look at a series and I'll be like, how is someone that is new to the series, how am I going to introduce someone to this series? How are they going to feel about a lot of the different aspects? You guys can say, oh, but this is not for people that are new to the series. This is just for people that enjoy God Eater and nobody else needs to like it. And it's like, well, that is another instance where we're just going to have to agree to disagree, because I personally don't really like that kind of gatekeeping. I'm not saying that the game should be dumbed down. That's not at all what I'm saying, because I know that eventually some of you will look at what I'm talking about in this point and be like, you just want the game to be dumbed down. Completely and utterly wrong. I think the game should retain all of its complexity, but that doesn't mean that you can't modernize the control scheme of the game. Now, understand that a lot of people don't have a problem with the controls. I myself didn't have that much problem controlling the character either. I still think that the controls don't make a lot of sense. That's the point that I'm trying to make. And, if the controls are great for you, then all good. Like I said, anyone can adapt to anything. I'm just trying to make sure that the game would succeed as best as it could, and that is part of my feedback. I want the game to be better, and I think that a better control scheme would let this game be enjoyed by more people, thus giving this series more success, and thus increasing our probabilities of getting a God Eater 4. This is the mentality that I'm bringing into this. You need to understand something. If I don't like a video game, usually I don't even bother criticizing it, okay? If I don't like something, I just ignore it and I move on. That's the way that I work. If I'm putting that much criticism into a video for a video game, you better believe the main reason is because I want that video game to do well. I want to enjoy that video game, and I want as many people as possible to enjoy that video game. That is the way that I look at those things. And then we also had someone specifically mentioning, you just don't want God Eater 3 to succeed. And I'm just like, why? Why would I not want God Eater 3 to succeed? And then the worst part is that someone actually told me a specific reason, and they were like, yeah, because the 8th of February is the same date that the Witcher crossover comes out and Monster Hunter, so of course you're going to talk shit about God Eater 3. And that is just such a stupid thing to say. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that's just fucking stupid. Why would I want God Eater 3 to fail just because there's a Monster Hunter DLC coming out on the same day? Like, I don't even understand what logic that would be. That would just be bad for everyone. If God Eater 3 fails, it's just bad for everyone because I love Japanese games. And God Eater 3 is one of the Japanese games that I want to enjoy. Like, again, you just need to understand something. If I'm doing a video criticizing a video game, most likely I want that video game to succeed. Most likely I want that video game to be better because I want to see the next step in that franchise. That's the way that I feel about that stuff. Then we had other comments saying that I'm hate-mongering for clicks. Okay, so let me tell you something. When you want to do a video specifically for clicks, you want to pick a popular topic, okay? And let me break it down to you in case you weren't aware. God Eater 3 is not that popular that I would want to make a video for the purpose of hate-mongering to get clicks. The reason why that video is getting as many views as it is because a lot of people are commenting on it and a lot of people are rating it. That's the reason. Like, that video has way more views than I would have expected for a God Eater video, okay? The reason I cover these games is because I either like them or I want to like them. I don't do content like, oh, hate mongering for clicks, I'm gonna get involved in this hot drama, because I don't care about any of that shit. I just want video games to be good, and I want people to enjoy video games, and I want people to come together and enjoy video games. Another very mentioned comment was, stop comparing this game to Monster Hunter World. And it's like, you need to understand, the concept from which I was comparing it to, it was not like, oh, I want God Eater 3 to be slower. Oh, I want God Eater 3 to, feature hunting mechanics like we have in Monster Hunter World. I want God Eater 3 to do this more like Monster Hunter World. That was not the point at all. The point in which I did the comparison was specifically for the weapon weight, which, to be completely honest, a better description would be weapon impact. And a lot of people seem to think that you can have, fast action combat whilst still retaining a feeling of impact. And to those people, I would say just look at any game that comes from Platinum Games, and you can see that most of those games are fast and action-paced, and most of those games you can get a good visual feedback from when you hit an enemy. And that's one of my main criticisms of the demo in God Eater 3 is that I don't feel enough impact in any of my weapons. And I'm not saying that, oh, whenever I hit the monster, the game needs to slow down to show that. No, I want the game to be as fast as it is. I want the game to be exactly what God Eater is. But I want the more feedback, more visual feedback from when I hit the monster. Like, a lot of times between you hitting the monster and you not hitting the monster, you almost feel no difference. At least that's the way that I felt about the demo that I played. And, kind of in follow-up of that particular previous comment of stop comparing it to Monster Hunter World, it's like, you just want every game to be like Monster Hunter World. And nothing could be further from the truth. I don't want God Eater to go in the direction of Monster Hunter World. I want God Eater to evolve itself. I want God Eater to evolve on its own terms. I want God Eater to retain the action-packed mechanics that it's known for. I want God Eater to have all of the complexity that it is known for. Like I said previously, I do not want God Eater to be dumbed down. I think that would be stupid to dumb down a video game just to get some more mass appeal. I do think that there are things that can be changed, particularly in that control scheme, that would help newer players come into the franchise and not feel like they have absolutely no control over what is happening. I also feel that some work could be done in the UI to better convey stuff like when your health goes low enough, you should see the screen flash red. Instead, you see the screen flash red when you're performing a devour. When basically you're performing a devour is actually a good thing. So it's like you're almost getting negative visual feedback for doing something that you should be doing. It feels weird. I would like to see the health gauge be a little bit thicker, because it's so thin that sometimes, I'm an old man. Like, I have bad eyesight. A lot of times I'll look at that gauge and I'm like, oh shit, look at all the health I just lost. I have to play closer to my TV, and sure, criticize me on being a fucking old man that can barely see. That's fine. As a matter of fact, I need to update the prescription on my glasses. Old man problems. There you go. But again, I just want to make sure that people understand, if I'm bringing up Monster Hunter World, it was because of the weapon weight, weapon impact, the feeling of impact that you get when you hit a monster with a weapon, which is also why I brought up Soulsborne, because it also does that extremely well. I do not want to slow down the pace of God Eater to a crawl. That is not the point, because God Eater is supposed to be much faster, and that's what I want it to be. You need to understand, I've played a lot of games that, are kind of in the same vein as Monster Hunter. Like, you got Tokiden 2, you got naturally the previous God Eaters 1 and 2. I didn't finish them. I did not finish God Eater 1 and 2, okay? I just want people to be aware of that, but I did play them a good while. And you also have Freedom Wars, which was another title that I loved. As a matter of fact, I wish they would remaster Freedom Wars for PS4. I'd love to play that game. Soul Sacrifice, which in my opinion is one of the best games that I've ever played. And I love it. And these are all games that kind of are all built around this concept of having the hub and hunting monsters, but each of them provides its own unique take to the genre. And that's a good thing, because it gives you variety. I don't want it to be like Monster Hunter World. I want it to be as different from Monster Hunter World as possible. But I want it to have good controls, and I want it to have better visual feedback for the weapons impacting on the monsters, And naturally, I also want better friggin' performance. I don't think that's too much to ask. But, that's just the way that I feel. Then some people were saying, you only play Monster Hunter World and Souls, and clearly those people haven't been around the channel long enough, in which case I would say, welcome to the channel. Maybe you would like to check out some of my older content where you can clearly see that I play a wide variety of different games, completely different games, to the point where you'll even find Elite Dangerous gameplay in my channel, which is something so far from anything else that I've ever played on the channel that it might as well be in a different zip code. But I play a wide variety of games, and I enjoy a wide variety of games. That's just the way that it goes. And then we had someone in specific claiming that I deleted his comments. Well, let me tell you something, dude. If I wanted to delete comments, it would be a lot easier for me to just shadow ban you from the channel, and that way all of your comments would be automatically hidden, and I wouldn't have to manually delete them one by one. I don't delete comments. Hell, if I was to delete comments, why would I delete whatever comment you claimed that I deleted and leave all the other ones there? Like, what the fuck? What kind of logic is that? I don't delete comments. I address criticism head on. That's the way that I've always done it in this channel. And you can clearly see that in that comment section. I replied to as many comments as I could through my phone, then I came back and I replied to a bunch more on my PC. I did not reply to every single one of those comments, but I replied to as many as I had the patience to. That's pretty much how that exchange went. And again, I want you to understand something. I'm thankful when I receive that amount of feedback. I just wish that a lot of people weren't trying to build a straw man argument out of it, but whatever. I'm just going to let bygones be bygones, and if you want to continue hating on me because I think about a certain game differently from you, that's fine. That's perfectly acceptable. That is your decision to make. But ultimately, like I said, I want God Eater 3 to be the best game that it can be. And in order to do that, you have to provide criticism of things that they can change, of things that they can improve, of things that can take the franchise to the next level. But, you know, you can keep just saying that I just want everything to be like Monster Hunter, which is just quite simply not the case. Now, there was a very specific comment that did, I think that might have actually been the comment that triggered me to do this particular video. And I don't want to quote the exact comment because it would be kind of unfair to all of the comments that I kind of just generalized in the talking points mentioned above. But basically this comment said something like, well, maybe Bandai Namco should just not release Japanese games in the Western market because people clearly don't appreciate them. And the reason why that particular comment struck a chord is because as a fan of Japanese games, I've always been, I think us as a community have always been in a position where a lot of times games will either come out earlier in Japan or they will only come out in Japan and never really see a Western release. And that does concern me quite a bit. If the only videos that were to come out on God Eater 3 were to be negative, that potentially Bandai could be like, well, maybe God Eater 3, maybe the God Eater franchise is just not for the West. And it's like, that is something that I definitely don't want to happen. I want to keep seeing Japanese games come into the Western market like we've seen throughout these past couple of years, because I think that's a very positive thing, because some of my favorite games happen to come from Japan, and the last thing that I want to see is for things to go back to the way they were, where essentially, you know, Japanese games stay in Japan and then you have to import them in Japanese because I don't speak Japanese, I don't read Japanese. I wish I did, but I don't have the time to learn that. And I just don't want to go back to that. I want them to keep releasing the stuff. So I figured I would talk about some of the more positive aspects of God Eater at the end of this video to kind of, you know, offset all of the criticism that I've done in the previous one. None of these aspects was mentioned in the previous video, by the way, because in a lot of ways I do feel that the community is aware of these things, although some people did ask me about some of them. But basically, when it comes to God Eater games, the story is usually pretty friggin' great. That's one of the things that they definitely have on a lot of other titles in the genre, because, you know, they have the really cool animated cutscenes and the backstory of the god arcs and the children and all of that stuff. It's really good and interesting and incredibly fun to immerse yourself in that world and in that mythos, at least from my personal opinion. The character customization is another really good aspect, because at least in the previous two titles that came out on PS4, I don't know how it was on PSP because I never played it on PSP, but on the PS4 versions, there's just like a wide variety of suits that you can like buy and customize your character to look in a bunch of different ways, and I think that is really cool to give your players a lot of customization options. As a matter of fact, your armor, I mean, I say armor, it's basically just like suits that you wear don't really affect your stats, so you can look whatever way you want. It's almost like if everything was just layered armor, and that is pretty cool. The more in-depth mechanics of the game are also pretty unique and pretty fun. The burst arts and the way that those work by leveling them up in between fights to then have access to new burst arts for the different weapon types and whatnot. I think that that is a really cool and unique mechanic, and like I said, these aspects of the game should not be dumbed down. I want to make sure that nobody misinterprets what I'm saying. And specifically to God Eater 3, I do think that the new weapons are pretty fun, particularly the disc-shaped one. I don't remember the exact name of it, but the new disc-shaped weapon, that thing was, yeah, that thing was pretty cool. The animations on it and whatnot were pretty cool. But again, it'd be great if there was a bit more visual feedback when you impact your weapon into the monster. But anyway, that's pretty much all of the talking points that I wanted to bring up in regards to that video. If you feel that you want to criticize me some more on this one, feel free to do so. I'll keep trying to address your feedback as best as I can. Thank you very much for watching, and remember, rate it. Even if you do dislike it, it's still useful for me to know how you feel about my particular takes on it. And for those of you wondering, I will most likely still be checking out the game because, you know, I want to give it another chance. People are saying that the demo is just completely outdated and that the final retail version feels a lot better. So, you know, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I guess I'll find out. Peace out, team.